प्रधानमंत्री जस्टिन ट्रूडो ने यूक्रेन ते रूसी हमले ते कैनेडा के जवाब बारे अपडेट प्रदान करने लई पार्लीमेंट हिल ते एक न्यूज़ कॉन्फ्रेंस की। उसने घोषणा की कि कैनेडा रूस के राष्ट्रपति अते विदेश मंत्री ते सीधियां पाबंदियां लगा रहा है। उन्होंने कहा कि कैनेडा स्विफ्ट बैंकिंग प्रणाली तो रूस नूं हटाउण लई भी समर्थन करेगा। ट्रूडो ने यह भी ऐलान किया कि कैनेडा रूस के हमले का समर्थन करने लई बेलारूस अते इसके नेतावां ते भी वाधू पाबंदियां लावेगा।
The world is witnessing the horrors of President Putin's war of choice. This is a brutal, needless attack on a sovereign, democratic country. It is an atrocity for Ukraine's over 40 million innocent citizens and for the world. Today, Canada is announcing our third set of severe, coordinated sanctions. First, we will be imposing sanctions on President Putin and his fellow architects of this barbaric war, his chief of staff and foreign minister Sergei Lavrov. These men bear the greatest responsibility for the death and destruction occurring in Ukraine. Additionally, I am confirming Canada's support to remove Russia from the SWIFT payment system, a critical part of the global banking system. We've made it clear that all options are on the table when it comes to imposing steep costs on Russia's unjustified and unprovoked invasion, and that includes taking steps to exclude Russia from making financial transactions around the world. Excluding Russian banks from SWIFT would make it even more difficult for President Putin to finance his brutalities. Canada is also announcing that we will levy additional sanctions on Belarus and its leaders for abetting President Putin's invasion of a free and sovereign nation. These will target 57 individuals and are in addition to the dozens of existing strong sanctions already leveled against Alexander Lukashenko's regime for their repeated, systematic human rights violations and decades of oppression of their own people.
ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਜੇਸਨ ਕੇਨੀ ਨੇ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਨਵੀਨਤਮ ਬਜਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿਵਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਚਰਚਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਥਾਨਕ ਸਰਜੀਕਲ ਸਮਰੱਥਾ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ $35 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਫੰਡ ਪ੍ਰਦਾਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਖੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੀਸਟੋਨ XL ਪਾਈਪਲਾਈਨ ਦੇ ਭਵਿੱਖ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਪੱਤਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਸਵਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਦਿੱਤੇ।
One of our top priorities on this front has been to drive down wait times for the surgeries that people need. New hips and knees for people who need to get back on their feet. Cataract surgeries to help people see clearly. Cancer surgeries to help with diagnosis and treatment, and most importantly, to provide hope when folks need it. Without a doubt, the COVID-19 created huge challenges for us when it comes to wait times. The pandemic hit us just as we looked to roll out the Alberta Surgical Initiative to get Albertans the surgeries they need with much shorter wait times. Instead, Alberta Health Services has had to postpone surgeries to save beds, spaces and resources in intensive care units and in hospitals to care for those sick from COVID-19. These were tough choices, and I'm sorry for all the patients and families who have had their care, their surgeries delayed. But that promise of delivering those services has not changed. We aren't backing down, and we are going to deliver on our commitment to make sure that Albertans who need surgery don't wait on lists as things get worse for them. So the strategy is already paying off. In 2018-19, the median wait for cataract procedures was 17 weeks. Already in the first 3 quarters of this fiscal year, the median wait for cataract removal is 10 weeks. That's a 41% decrease, thanks largely to the Alberta Surgical Initiative. And that's just one good, small example of the impact this will have as we roll it out for other kinds of surgical procedures in the next year. But we know we need to catch up on some of the COVID delays. So Budget 2022's COVID contingency fund of $750 million will help us to eliminate the surgical backlog related to the pandemic over the coming year and get us back on track.
ओंटारियो के प्रीमियर डग फोर्ड ने घोषणा की कि ओंटारियो सरकार एक अजिहा कानून लियाउण जा रही है जिस नाल सूबे अंदर स्किल्ड वर्कर्स नूं होर आकर्षित किया जा सकता है। इस मौके बोलते हुए प्रीमियर ने कहा कि इस समय सूबे विच 3,38,000 जॉब्स वास्ते वर्करां की जरूरत है जो कि ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਦੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਲੇਬਰ ਦੀ ਘਾਟ ਦਰਸਾਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਲਈ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਲੇਬਰ ਸ਼ਾਰਟੇਜ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਜਿੱਠਣ ਲਈ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕਦਮ ਚੁੱਕੇ, ਜਿਸ ਤਹਿਤ ਇਹ ਨਵਾਂ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਲਿਆਂਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
Friends, we're building Ontario, but right now our province is in the middle of a historic labor shortage. In fact, it's the largest labor shortage in a generation. We've created the environment for an economy that is booming right now, with 338,000 good jobs waiting to be filled, and that number is only growing. We've heard countless stories of jobs going unfilled, costing Ontario billions in lost productivity. Every day these jobs go unfilled, it's another day we don't reach our full economic potential. So as we invest in job training for people already here, we also need to make it easier for hardworking people to come to Ontario. But for skilled workers wanting to move to Ontario, getting the required certification to work in our province takes way too long. And I can tell you, it drives me absolutely crazy. The amount of red tape that previous governments added, it's beyond belief. And it's unacceptable when we're competing for the best of the best talent anywhere in the world. Well, my friends, those days are over, because our government will introduce legislation that will make it easier for workers from other provinces to fill in-demand jobs right here in Ontario. These changes would help workers in over 30 in-demand professions move here with their families by ensuring out-of-province workers can register in their regulated profession or trade within 30 days. We will also officially recognize all professions under the Red Seal program, a common standard for apprenticeship training and certification. If our legislation is passed, skilled workers like engineers, architects, and mechanics, the people who will help build Ontario, can help fill critical jobs. Friends, it's never been more important for Ontario to be training and attracting more skilled workers, because our government is building Ontario with over $148 billion in infrastructure projects.
ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਮੁੱਖ ਜਨਤਕ ਸਿਹਤ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਥੈਰੇਸਾ ਟੈਮ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਦੇਸ਼ ਅੰਦਰ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਮਹਾਮਾਰੀ ਦੀ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਬਾਰੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਪ੍ਰਦਾਨ ਕੀਤੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਦੇਸ਼ ਭਰ ਵਿੱਚ ICU ਵਿੱਚ ਭਰਤੀ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਮਰੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਦਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕਮੀ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਸੂਬਿਆਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਚੇਤਾਵਨੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਅੰਦਰ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਦੇ ਕੇਸਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਵਾਧਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਸਖਤ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਲਗਾਈਆਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ।
Last week's modelling updates show that while a resurgence in cases could still occur with the easing of public health measures, the predicted trajectory for hospital admissions is expected to be lower for COVID-19. In the week since the modelling update, epidemiological indicators of COVID-19 disease activity have continued to improve across most jurisdictions. Nationally, weekly case counts are down by 26%, and the number of people with COVID-19 in hospitals and ICUs have declined by over 20% compared to last week. Nevertheless, as the SARS-CoV-2 virus is still circulating widely, some jurisdictions are reporting weekly increases in case counts, and others could see additional bumps in the weeks ahead. As such, Canada continues to closely monitor a range of indicators, including using wastewater surveillance for early detection and monitoring the amount of virus in community samples. At the same time, there is continued high volume of PCR testing being performed and ongoing genetic sequencing of circulating virus variants. While the BA.1 sublineage of the Omicron variant is still dominant in most provinces and territories, we are picking up an increasing presence of the BA.2 sublineage, which currently accounts for about 10% of our domestic samples. Based on preliminary case surveillance data from Denmark, where BA2 is now dominant, this sublineage does not appear to be associated with more severe illness. Similarly, data from England, where BA2 is steadily increasing, shows no indications of a difference in immune escape or vaccine effectiveness compared to Omicron. That would be Omicron BA1. However, both countries report that the BA2 sublineage appears to be even more transmissible than the BA1 sublineage. Yes, I think masks continue to be, I think, a really good layer of personal protection. And I think that even if it's not required in the jurisdiction that you're in or the community that you're in, you can choose to wear a mask as a personal protective measure. It's a habit that we've developed over the last couple of years. And I think it's good for the prevention of not just COVID-19, but maybe other respiratory viruses as well.
ਰੂਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਯੂਕਰੇਨ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਹਮਲੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਅਗਲੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ GTA ਵਿੱਚ ਗੈਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ $2 ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਲੀਟਰ ਤੱਕ ਵਧਣ ਦੀ ਸੰਭਾਵਨਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਧਾ ਰੂਸ ਉੱਤੇ ਲਾਈਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਰਨ ਵੀ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਖਦਸ਼ਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਚੇਤਾਵਨੀ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਵਿਸ਼ਲੇਸ਼ਕ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਆਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਵੀਕਐਂਡ ਗੈਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਲੀਟਰ $1.61 ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ, ਪਰ ਅਗਲੇ ਮਹੀਨੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੱਧ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਆਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਫੂਡ ਤੇ ਹੋਰਨਾਂ ਵਸਤਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਧਣ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਖਦਸ਼ਾ ਹੈ।
We are getting a large number of oil barrels directly from Russia. The oil market is an international market, but it's interconnected. And Russia is a major player. It produces about 10 million barrels per day.
Oh, yeah, we are worried about it because we are driving our car every day. Our whole family members, they are involved with our car. So the price going up is going to affect our economy and our families' incomes and those stuff.
I have children and big families, and it's going to be harder to get out and do things, even to get groceries.
Gas prices do get influenced because Russia supplies a lot of oil. This is very sad that a war is happening and everything is going to get influenced. People are dying, and this is very sad news.
And in the absence of opening reserves, taxes is only a percentage on top of the thing. The question is, what about the base? And the base is rising quite a bit. If you shave a little bit of the percentage of the tax, whether it is 12, 40, 30%, it would not make much of a dent.
This conflict injects a lot of volatility into the oil market because we don't know how Russia will react to our sanctions. Will they react by turning off the tap for oil flowing into the global markets? It's doubtful, but they could. And just that possibility has spooked the oil market.
The reality is that Mr. Putin has played the world democracies and free markets like a fiddle. And in many respects, we've not only bought into it, we created the situation.
So even if we lose, 10% of Russia's production, these prices could, easily go up to $140, $150.
The market generally right now is very short oil. Ever since COVID and even before, there has been not enough investment happening to keep up with demand.